Hey everybody, this is Ripples in Wales, back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and having a great day. So, we're going to commence part 2 of the Christmas scene today. I've just done a ton of research and jotting down some scribblings and some brainstorming of how I can try and piece this all together for you in a coordinated approach so that it isn't left dangling in your minds. Hopefully we can box a lot of this off today and try and bring it all back together. The Christmas scene is a massive scene, and it's trying to explain massive geopolitical events that were set to occur in the world and had begun occurring in the world back in 2018. We're kind of a few years down the line since the release of this, but the geopolitical events had already started to go into motion, and you know, we've had a few crazy things and black swan events occur in the past few years, and it kind of alluded to some of these changes in structure that many of the riddlers have talked about in the past. And we'll focus on a few of those today. We're going to look at BRICS, we're going to have a look at the level playing field, we're going to touch upon the IMF, AIIB, we're going to kind of look at the bigger picture at the end. I'm going to bring you full circle at the end and to how this transition away from SWIFT may occur. I'm still trying to piece it all together myself. The BRICS part is the most fascinating and is the most complex, I find, but I'm nipping away at it and I'm getting closer to understanding it all. But at least we'll bring it back into the Christmas scene and kind of drop it in your consciousness so that you can kind of understand as things develop how this may occur and how it kind of relates to what BG was saying. So anyway, this is my Twitter page. I'm pretty active on Twitter. Give us a follow. Come and say hi. I'm on here most days, having a look, you know, what's going on in the world. I still call it Twitter. It's always going to be Twitter to me. It's not X. A lot of changes that have occurred the past few days with the rebranding of Twitter to X.com, and yeah, the talk of Elon, which has been out for a while, you know, turning, you know, Twitter, I'm still going to call it Twitter, into a payments company. Ironic that it uses symbology of the X. I mean, they leave it all out there for you, and meanwhile, all the while, everyone's talking about Doge. I just find it farcical. I put a couple of tweets out the other day that, you know, Bearable Guy talked back in the day that the basic attention would all be on Doge. They're doing this as a distraction to keep it away from the masses. They do not want the masses involved in understanding this transition, and the way they do it is through distraction and manipulation, and Elon is part of that. Make no mistake, he is part of the plan to keep the eyes away. If you notice, everything in the media is presented about Bitcoin and about Doge. They never want to mention XRP, and that's you know, there's a reason for that. They're keeping it out of the prying eyes, and they'll send it soon, and it'll be too expensive for retail to accumulate that. Anyway, let's jump right in. We've been yapping on for too long. Right, we're into the third part of this today, and it's a monster part of the scene. I think this is the one. So yesterday we talked about we went over the library part of this riddle and the bear, and then before that we went over in part 1 the Christmas scene, Swift 589, how the king relates to this all, and the gauntlet. And today we're going to focus on this part of the screen. I'm going to again put the blinkers and the blinders on you so that we can focus upon this part alone, because this is what I want your attention on. There's a few planes going to be flying over in a minute. It's going to be a bit noisy. It's Friday. They still haven't stopped flying yet. Anyway, what is going on in this scene? It's so packed with so much intel. There's a lot going on, and the reason I'd split this down into kind of 2 parts, almost 3 parts in 2 videos, was that it's just too much intel to record and go verbatim. I needed to refresh my memory and everything. But as I said in the beginning part of this, the first recording of part 1, you know, this old Christmas scene moves from left to right or west to east. It's interesting, right? And we're in this part now. We're in this eastern quadrant, the right hand side of the scene with the knight and the hand. I always like to go back to the beginnings for the people who haven't kind of seen a few things before and kind of just recalibrate your understandings as to what is going on. We've talked about it a few times, but there are constants and variables in these scenes that it's important to always anchor into your minds, because they will give you the fundamentals to where the scene's going. We talked before about the colours. Okay, they are the constants on the stockings. In this scene, they're in stockings. In the previous scene, they were flags, and they were told you what colours meant what. The green, the purple, and the yellows, or the gold, if you want to call it. You know what they are. Purple is XRP, the yellow is USD, and the green is Bitcoin. So that's already been laid out for us. We know who this is, the knight. It's Brad Garlinghouse. We've got the arm. It's a kind of a constant character in the plot. It refers to the kind of the controlling arm that's sent by the king to slow things down. And we've got, I like to look at this scene in kind of 3 parts. We've got the calendar, we've got the mantle and the fireplace, and then we've got the coin crusher, the arm, the regulatory arm, and the tokens. And we're kind of going to follow it in that order today. Also, what we've got here on the top of the bookshelf, which we discussed yesterday, we've got the jar of molasses, and we've got the gavel resting against the library case, opposite Lodestar 3 and above the Bitcoin stocking, and also above the Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin tokens at the bottom. On the right hand side of the mantle, we've got the White House, and below the White House we've got the XRP and the USD stocking, and then below that we've got the knight in defensive mode. And we'll start at the top, shall we, and move our way down. If any of you have been over my previous videos, and if not, I would urge you to go back to one I created a few days ago called The Level Playing Field. It's this one. It's a bit of a long one. It's 40 minutes long. You can nip in and out of it, play it on 2x speed, whatever you got to do. But it's important that you understand the level playing field before we move on. I'm going to just allude to it very briefly here in passing before we move on. But the calendar scene is super important. And the calendar was presented back in the day in one of Bearable Guy 123's posts. I think this is his post here. We can scroll down and we can see back in the day. Where are we? Have I passed it? I have. Where are you? There. It was posted 4 years ago, and there was a first part of the calendar scene posted. You can click on that and you can go and have a look at it. What have we got coming on? There we go. There's the first iteration. And they present things in calendars. They've got a 2019 on it, which if you add the numbers together, it's 2022. A lot of us thought it was for the past 3 years, but we were wrong. That's why I try not to guess timelines anymore. And it's, the calendar's split into 3 quadrants, into 4s. So 1, 2, 3. Each has a sort of 4 months in it. And in the background, you've got this incredible, nice evening sky. Then you've got a mountain backdrop with the May, with the sun behind it, May sun. And then you've got a level playing field in the background, which we're going to kind of just touch upon in a minute. So this is where it all began, this calendar. And I'm sure a few of you touched upon it before, but let me just show you the finished iteration. This went through various different iterations, but this is where things got really kind of interesting. So there are various forms of X's put onto the calendar, small and large. I honestly don't know what they mean other than November. And September were of a different sort. Now they had gold, kind of, or yellow tinges upon all the months here, and November became a kind of X marks the spot in a kind of pirate style. There is consistency probably to these and patterns where they use the size of X's married to certain months. But the point is the level playing field, and if you've been through my previous work, you will understand that the level playing field, we're just going to look at some of my screen grabs here. It came from a meeting in Jackson Hole with the Federal Reserve meeting, which was in Kansas. We talked about it in the last video. Come on, open. And it was, all the world leaders there, but generally Mark Carney and Jerome Powell talked about creating a new hegemonic global digital reserve world currency. It's where it was kind of dropped into the public. And in the background, you can see here there's a, this level playing field. And it can also be seen in other areas, different photos here of them two in the background talking. But Ripple Riddler used it in his images to present the same thing. I've put it in a previous tweet there. This is not a riddle, level playing field, up and away. And the level playing field referred to a new order that was set about to allow all countries to trade evenly without one country getting screwed. And they needed a global interoperable hegemonic currency to do so. The Ripple Riddler used the scene, and so does Bearable Guy used the same kind of scene. It's in the background here. And that starts in September. It's really important to know that starts in September and runs through to December, and it could run beyond. So super cool that. He's giving you a kind of, this is his timeline, the only timeline. I'm going to hit that back each time. And you'll notice that there's a green edge across the bottom here, okay, and it goes all the way up that side, and I believe that was red and red across the top. Always look to the borders of what he presents to you. There's an early riddle regarding February the 14th. We're not going to cover that today. Things in the past are in the past. We'll continue on. So we've got this calendar sitting above the mantle, and up against the mantle you've got the three stockings. Now stockings are for gifts, okay, and they're pegged in the UK and Europe. You guys have them as well all over the world. They're traditionally left with small gifts for the children, kind of small little trinkets and whatnot above the fireplace or on a wall or next to their bed. And yeah, it's the gifting part that's important to understand, and that stockings contain gifts. And so you can take from that on the mantle here that the three stockings, or the three tokens that are going to get gifts this Christmas, are going to be Bitcoin, XRP, and the USD. They are the most three important ones to understand, and also understand the pairings between the purple and the yellow, XRP and the dollar. They're right next to each other. Okay, and Brad is defending both of them. Now this goes deep, this defensive move of the dollar by an American software company against the arm that sits in front of the knight. It runs deep. It runs all the way into BRICS. It runs all the way into AIIB. It runs into SIPs and the battle or the transition from SWIFT to SIPs. And it runs into a whole manner of deep geopolitical changes that seem to be occurring. And I've not figured them all out yet. But we're getting there. The three stockings are pegged to the mantelpiece, and they have different colours on them. We don't know what they mean. I don't know, but the height of them varies. And also, you may notice that they're kind of pegged to the bottom part of the level playing field. And the bottom part of the level playing field runs from September, October, November, December. Now remember, September is the start of the autumn equinox. And that runs all the way through 6 months to the spring equinox. Okay, and in the middle is winter solstice on December the 21st. And then 6 months from solstice to solstice, you have June the 21st. These are pagan, way beyond the Hebrew calendar. These are pagan festivals celebrated for the growing seasons of Mother Earth. They predate anything else. These go back millennia to the old, beyond Celtic and pagan, You know, we're talking 10,000 years. You know, it predates most things in the Jewish or the Hebrew calendars. We've got such an elongated history here in Western Europe and, you know, the UK and Wales especially. We have, on the island that I live, we've got huts that date back 7,000, 8,000 years. Some of them 10,000 years. So it gives you an indication as to the people were living by different principles way back before certain calendars. But the reason I bring that to you is that the level playing field starts in the autumn equinox, which is September. Okay, and they like to ritualize things. You'll also know that the gavel is against the library case. Okay, against September. We've got the jar of molasses up at the top, which we discussed yesterday, and we know that the price is written on the lid. Okay, and the old adage was, as the gavel strikes the library or the case, you know, whatever, and I think it's the SEC case with Ripple eventually, that you're going to get the jar of molasses to fall off the bookshelf, and it's going to spill, and then the lid's going to come off, releasing price. We can see this back in one of Bearable Guy's old posts, back on his Twitter profile, on his forward-facing account. If this is still up, brilliant. And he's dropped this for August. Pay no attention to the year, it's irrelevant. We didn't know the year, but we do know the dates that he posted them. Okay, and this is one of the most important things to look at when you're looking at BG's work, is the dates. He dropped this in August the 18th. Well, we know we can go back to the calendar. We know that on here that August precedes September in every calendar. And if he's dropped this in August, late August, we're now in, what are we in? We are in July the 28th. We're not too far away from August, and we've just had the summary judgment released by Ripple. And it's not going to be too long, I think, maybe before we hear something else. Now, that's not financial advice. I don't know. Things could drag on for quite some time. I expect the SEC they could appeal. They could appeal. The arm is visible in the next 3 years of the pictures. So it doesn't stop Ripple in its plans, though. That's the thing. Whether the SEC appeals or not, it doesn't matter. Will there be a settlement? Maybe. We don't know. The riddle has talked about a settlement back in the day. But anyway, regulation. There's going to be some sort of regulation, isn't there? And I think we'll also need to look at stablecoin regulation. We need to look at, because it's very hot at the minute. We know that the Chamber of Digital Commerce, we know that the House in America, you've got all manner of governing bodies in America now talking about digital assets, regulation, and bills getting passed through left, right, and centre. We don't know which ones are going to stick, but yeah, you know, whatever becomes in front of the Senate and whatever they decide, they may decide to kind of whack some regulation out on stablecoins, certainly by the end of the year. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see what occurs. But anyway, in this scene, we've got the gavel against the bookshelf, and it's also next to Lodestar 3. This is important that I bring this to you. Where are you? In here, Lodestar 3. Is that it there? It's a really poor picture, I'm sorry. But it shows the gavel next to the vault, 3 books on the shelf, Lodestar 1, 2, and 3, and the gavel is right next to 3. And that's really important. We'll bring that in later on. It says, you know, and Bearable Guy talked about things. He said, for Lodestar 3, there was a test. 1 and 2 were given. 3 is a quest. I think it's there. There we go. For Lodestar 3, for it, there's a test. 1 and 2 were given. 3 is a quest. What he's trying to say to you there is, for Lodestar 3, which is the gavel, you know, the gavel against the bookshelf next to the book, Lodestar 3, for it, there's a test. Well, they're going to have to create some sort of test for Ripple. And I think they're going to box it off and close the door behind it, as we've seen many times in tweets by David Schwartz. We'll try and find that in a minute. But I think they're going to have to put a special test against Ripple to give it a certain preferential treatment, as maybe a payment stablecoin or something like that, or not a payment stablecoin, a payment currency. It says 1 and 2 are given, which is Bitcoin and Ethereum. 3 is a quest. Now, bringing it back to that 3 is a quest, I told you before in videos that they talk about quests and journeys and adventures, because this is a long play. This isn't an overnight thing. And I know that isn't an overnight thing because it was given to you all many moons ago. This is one of many introductions to do with the ISO standards and the integrations of these new standards across the planet. And I'm not going to pretend that I am really super clued up on this because I'm not. But what we were given, I think, is that the third year we go. So these were ISO, I believe they were ISO integration timelines throughout the world. And Bob Way multiple times said, you're not paying attention to ISO, you don't understand how important it is. Okay, so we've got a 2025 kind of all done. And 3 different kind of iterations with, each of the European countries, Britain, CHIPS, America, you've got European, UK, US, global. I think Swift went live this year. I think Fed now went live this year. So we can probably assume it goes another year till 2026 because they all went live. But this is why I'm saying everything for the integration of this new system, and I think the standards of the ISO, if I'm not mistaken, you'll have to get the bigger brains in the XRP community to look at this, but the understanding, from my understanding, is that the ISO 2022 standards set everyone up on the same technology base so that they can move towards, is it T+1 standards, and eventually in the future T to 0 for the eventually instant settlements, and they're going to do it in lots. It isn't done instantaneously. They stress test systems and they go live over a elongated period of time. And this is why I say to you all, everything will take time. Set your 2026 timeline to begin with, and then look on further to 2020, 30, because the integrations of these systems are going to take time. And I'm just going to close those down for a minute. There we go. So the regulations are going to form the basis of this, this change with Ripple and maybe the way it's looked at. And Ripple, the token XRP is pegged up towards the November-December timeline on the level playing field. Every one of the Ripple Riddler videos always points scenes always towards starting September, moving into the winter. It's hard to gauge things, but I think November could be a very interesting time, and between November and December, there was a BG123 calendar I wanted to show you, which was released back in the day, and this part here is the most interesting. Okay, it was back in 2018 was released, and he said, what was the clue? 2018 edition. Hello, there was a giant blazing sun pointing to May. Okay, and he's got December with a bear with all the moons on his hat saying psst, boom, which is the winter solstice, not the summer solstice. And so that could be an interesting time to watch. But he's also got one tooth for January there, which is it's interesting stuff. Anyway, these were the early iterations of the calendar and riddles that were released out. So moving on, we have the gavel above Bitcoin. Now, is that going to be good or is it going to be bad? Is the ETF going to be rejected? Are we going to see a turn of favour? Bitcoin should end its relief rally soon. I'd give it another month. And I think that, all these maxis are pushing it. I hope it does run for them. Amazing. I hold a lot of Bitcoin. I'm very pro Bitcoin, but what I'm not pro is as digital asset investors pointed out multiple years now, is the bullshit media campaign that they've just pushed it to keep the masses hooked on this narrative. And every one of them, every one of these media organizations is complicit. Pompliano, they're all absolutely complicit with pushing this narrative. And a few of us have sniffed it out. It's a distraction, and it's always a distraction. And Bearable Guy talks about this quite a lot. He talks about it in the early Lodestar letters, saying why would the World Banks and IMF trust a coin that has 3 major mining corporations in China ahead of it? It was never going to happen. It never was Bitcoin. Okay, Lagarde's talked about that. So the hammer's over Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's got a red stocking holder on it, which is interesting. So the position of these is interesting. So that's the mantle. We've got the White House in there in January. It could be that they force the regulations through on things. We don't know. The fireplace itself. Now this is a gem in itself. The early fireplaces connotations were brought back in the day. I think you've seen me post this before. May is too much fun. He's got bricks in the wall, just another brick in the wall. He talks about different riddles using Pink Floyd and things like that. Will Bearable run out of bricks? Okay, when he's referring to bricks, he's talking about BRICS. Do you understand? And there's one brick here in the background that he always keeps off to the side, which he calls the last brick of light. Now, our attention should be on BRICS because we're into August. We're going to witness, I think, a change in paradigm with the BRICS nations as they have their meeting on the 22nd of August, 2023. We'll go over that a little bit later on. But Jim Rickards has kind of talked about this a lot, and he said that it's something to pay attention to as the BRICS nations want to create their own digital currency of sort and maybe back it by gold into the future. And this is not imminent. They're just discussing it, but they're pontificating in the mainstream, and they're going to keep doing it. Now, the BRICS Bank has connections to AIIB and CIPS. They use CIPS, which is a Chinese international payment system protocol, and the AIIB, which is a Chinese-led consortium of investment banks, which is a how can I put it, an IMF World Bank competitor, is growing very rapidly, and they prop up BRICS. They will be the investment bank that helps the BRICS nation countries go into quick development. We know people have talked about AIIB before, and certainly about BRICS. We'll try and bring them around together later on. I don't understand it all completely yet, but I'm working on it. But anyway, Bearable Guy always talks about the BRICS nations, and he's not the only one. In his early riddles, Bearable Guy has mentioned, where are we? Is that the one? Nope, that's not the one. I have an early picture of BG123's BRICS. Maybe I haven't. Let's go back and let's find him. Twitter. Okay, we're going to find it. So the picture I'm looking for is this one. Right. And also we'll bring up this one because they're one after the other. Okay. So in this picture here, these were, bricks as well, and he had a last brick of light up the top, and he always refers to bricks. Okay, these were the walls of the castle's kingdom coming down, but there's also brick connotations here. This was one of his early banners on his reverse-facing account, and this is his current profile on his reverse-facing account. He's got a brick and a little last brick of light at the top, which is referred to in the lodestar letters. So bricks always have an interesting connotation with BG123, and we can also go to look at the BRICS connotations. I think, is it here and here? Yeah, so this was Marvin Gaye's profile that he released back in the day, his profile picture, or his data drop that he left us all. And we probably haven't been over this in full, but it's a beauty, and it explains geopolitical events with bricks in the middle, with gold backs. We've got China, Russia, and America, and the changing order of things, and friendships fostered between. And then the BRICS nations, which covers both these two here, and the connection between BRICS and Russia and China. Okay. And they're moving away from the deep state-run SWIFT systems. So BRICS have been talked about a lot, and they shouldn't be ignored. This is also left, and I want to look at this later on, but this is important because we're moving away from the SWIFT part, and I think this is highly complicated, and I've been trying to pull it apart. How AIIB, how it refers to this, it's to do with CIPS, and CIPS is kind of a SWIFT competitor in Asia. It's called a Chinese international payment system. But the AIIB is an infrastructure that is competing with the IMF and World Bank. and it shows a transfer from west to east of this World Bank, which is kind of a hint that the IMF, World Bank have now got a very big competitor on the block, and this may, I don't know whether it's all going to their side, whether we are seeing a complete power transition west to east, or whether that Ripple and the US will challenge this with their technology base as a byproduct of these guys rising up and becoming so dominant, and for them all to integrate on to one platform. I think there's going to be a lot of gesturing and posturing in the media that there's like, you know, the US versus BRICS and BRICS versus, and eventually they'll all come to some sort of agreement on things. But we'll cover that a little bit later on. But the bricks and the fireplace are that what I'm drawing your attention to. The fireplace is made of bricks, and Bearable Guy often talks about bricks. Inside the fireplace, it's a beauty. You've got a log, and it's burning brightly, and you've got the phoenix inside with the king's scepter broken on it. And for those of you who you haven't, or you came late to the party, the scepter was formerly in the king's hand in the castle riddle, and it's broken. And on this scene, which is the second of the scenes, it's now on the fire burning. Okay, and the scepter refers to the how would you call it? Like a stick of power that the king holds, and it refers to like his control, his dominance over his kingdom. The King Charles in his recent coronation had a scepter, and this is not King Charles, by the way. This is a different king of a financial Swiss system that has been run for many hundreds of years. So the phoenix in the fireplace, rising from some form of ashes. A phoenix never rises from nothing, and we can go back and look at the connotations of the phoenix. Oh god, I'm gonna have trouble finding this. Where is it? There we go. 1988, the magazine that was released by The Economist, showing the phoenix. Bitcoiners love to think that it's going to be them. Look at this. Bitcoin UK, first result. Oh my god, they're going to have a shock, aren't they? The maxis are going to cry with a great gnashing of teeth. So you can see in 2018 there was get ready for a world currency with the phoenix with the spire on its head. Do you see that? That's also the same spire that was given to you in the castle. If you look at the top of the spire here, okay, very similar. It's not a spire. I think it's like there is a French connotation for this, and I cannot remember what it is, but it's a similar kind of symbological image. So you had the 1 and 0, which means binary, and you had what seemed to be looking like the Lumens logo running through it in 2018, and it rising from the burning of a fiat degradation and wash out of a financial system, it seems. So when we take that back to the fireplace, a phoenix doesn't rise of its own accord. It has to rise in an event that will allow it to catalyze. And so this is why I said to people that the level playing field that starts September, and I don't know if it's this September, don't hold me to this, whenever it starts and whichever September, it's not going to be all plain sailing. There's going to be a lot. This is the storm. This is the storm that they talk about, and I've seen this in multiple videos. That and we'll maybe play one actually and show you what I refer to as the storm and the rising of the phoenix. We'll do that after this. I'll go and find it in a minute. But the point of the king's scepter is on the fire. He's in the background here. He's got a wrench in his hand now. The power's been taken away from him. He's lost the control of his financial kingdom. And how did that occur? Well, Ripple infiltrated the SWIFT system. Okay, it's all about, this whole scene is about cross-border payments and SWIFT and the catalyzation of this new standard of liquidity protocol that will be unleashed at some point. Okay, and not every part of it is saying SWIFT, but it's all the greater picture of the geopolitics that will surround this changing order of money and payment systems You know, I was talking to some people the other day. One person in particular, Jennifer Okuri, who we were speaking about the latest article that an amazing thinker in the community called JC Collins had released an article. He's one fantastic writer and a very smart guy who wrote that, the changing order regarding XRP and XRPL and his thoughts on it. And I was, bringing the attention back to, even if Ripple didn't become some sort of de facto reservable currency and the CBDCs weren't created on it, the point was the San Grail of Ripple was payments. And that is a $270 trillion market cap by 2027. Let's think about that. Regardless of anything else, all you need to do is have Ripple succeed at payments. And what is this scene about, the Christmas scene? It is about the San Grail, Ripple's holy grail, which was payments. And payments is SWIFT. Yeah, it was to take over the majority of SWIFT, or at least in part over the next 5 years, whatever we're in now, so 3 or 4 years, and it's provide the liquidity means to replace the city, the HSBCs and whatnot, which we talked about in the last video. Okay, but for the phoenix to rise, there's things that have got to burn, and there's a storm coming. This is what I feel. There's no accident as to there's a gap between the gavel dropping on top of maybe Bitcoin and a 3-month window, almost 4 before there. It's a 3-month window before you see the sock placed on the fireplace. There's going to be a definite kind of pause in the markets. I can feel it coming. And the reason I think that is Bitcoin finishes its retracement rally in August and dips off, bringing the rest of the market with it. And I think we're going to see a number of further bank liquidations pop onto the scene as the leverage is washed out of the old system. I don't think we've even seen the start of it yet. I think we're going to see a cascading set of events that eventually causes a liquidity crisis event and the catalyzation of this new payments protocol to be unleashed. And I think it's all by design. There was an old riddle released by Bearable Guy back in the day, and it was this, which shows a fire and the king's scepter and a bear looking across at it and going shh, and it's Morse code. And some of the smart guys in the community picked it out, and I believe it was Folyak, a big shout out to him, and he says that nothing happens until something moves. So that's what was in the Morse code. So nothing happens until something moves. We can look at the scene and look at that, nothing happens until something moves. Well, the one thing that could move is the gavel, okay? And that could start off your move in September for the price of XRP as that jar of molasses falls down and the lid comes off. So the other thing that moves, the king could move out of the way, the hand crusher could start moving. I don't know what else he refers to. It could be many things. It could be a political thing. Maybe Biden moves. I don't know. You guys figure it out. Right, so we have the phoenix and the ashes, and we have this potential storm. Let's just have a look at one of the Ripple Riddler videos. Quickly, while we've got a moment. You guys go to YouTube, and let's go to Ripple Riddler. Ripple Riddler. Right, let's go. And I want to just show you one of his videos, and this is about the storm, okay? And you can always link Bearable Guy's stuff and the Ripple Riddler stuff together. See how his arms are open out between September and March? See how he's pointing between 9 and 3? There's no accident. Let's watch it, and I'll bring the attention bits to your attention. If we can get the adverts done first. What is it with adverts these days? YouTube is just on one, isn't it, with them? Right. This is not a riddle. This shit's coming. He's warning you. Banking collapse. So we've got, just a quick thought on this, we've got this new banker with his arms wide open between 9 and 3, as I was saying, you know, mimicking the cross. Okay, the cross is just the pagan celebration of the equinox and the solstices. He's facing the storm, he's conjuring it up. He's expected to see the storm. The phoenix can't rise before you have a storm. Okay, and this is the implosion of the old system, the washout of the leverage and the corruption, the D-class, the dark to light. This is all what's coming. We've just begun. Okay, yeah, this is why I'm saying to people, Unbearable Guy says, perseverance, we ain't got anywhere near the end yet. The best is yet to come. Do you notice how oh man, I've stopped it on 132 and 231. How random is that? I keep doing that all the time lately. And he's got 3.21 subscribers. Synchronicities. See how the hour hand is at 9? Okay, this is really interesting now, watch. This is like the yellow brick road. So, September, coming up to October. Storm ends. And you've got it's like almost R3 there. And he's got the clock in the background, you see 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Now, I don't know if this is accurate or not, and it's up to you, you know, there's no timeline predictions, but I'm guessing there's a storm coming, all right? And at the end of it, by, you know, I guess October, 10 being October, I don't know if that's the months that they're referring to, but certainly on the, where are you, Mr. Scene? I haven't minimized you, where the hell have you gone? There we are, let's bring him up. Right, so we've got the phoenix rising from September, October, and you see we've got the phoenix after 10 rising November, then the stocking. You know, 10 is used in terms of a time, but it's also a month. Okay, so pin these firmly in your consciousness to this level playing field. This is what the riddlers are referring to. They've always drawn your attention to the level playing field, and that it's the beginning. It's not the end. It's not moon. It's nothing to do with fucking moon. This drives me nuts. It's to do with the beginning of the journey. Okay? The moon boys are going to pretend and try and get your attention by bullshit clickbait and grabbing dopamine attention, grabbing thumbnails. It's not what they wanted you to know. What they wanted you to know is that it begins in September, and it begins by the burning down. The phoenix got to rise after the ashes. Now, the storm is everything that you've seen. It is the washout of the corruption of society. It's the change of guard. It's the implementation of the new system. But ultimately, it's the removal of this old banking system by the washout of leverage, in my opinion. And, you know, the riddlers talk about this in their storm videos, that for the phoenix to rise, there's got to be a storm, right? Things are gonna get messy, I feel. If I'm wrong, that's fine. I'm happy to be wrong. Christ, I don't need any more volatility in my portfolio either, just like the rest of you guys. So, we've seen the Ripple Riddler pointing to this. And so we know that there's going to be likely to be conundrums coming down the line, and I've warned of this. You know, I've been expecting this. Okay, so we've talked about the fireplace and the phoenix. We've talked about the BRICS. We're going to talk briefly about the knight now, and you know the symbology of the knight we've mentioned previously, which was Brad, who's the knight fighting the good fight. And let's minimize this and put this up in the background again. Where are you? Let's bring that forward to the front. And yeah, the knight. Oh bloody hell! The knight fighting the good fight. I'll just leave this up here, shall we, before I start wrecking the presentation. The knight fighting the good fight in a defensive pose with the red shield. Now he's defending the US dollar, do you notice, in the White House. He's also defending XRP from the arm that is the controlling arm sent by the king to throw issues in the way, or hurdles in the way. The knight is in a beaten and battered armor pose. You know, people keep saying to me and emailing me or messaging me saying, listen, we're in the ship scene, you're talking crap, you're wrong, you're in the ship scene. I'm like, okay, if you're in the ship scene, think about Brad. Has he come out unscathed yet? No, not yet. Okay, the summary judgment's ruling. Okay, but the knight has still got more fight on his hands. We've got till the end of the year, like I said. Let's see the storm wash through first, and let's see where the chips lie in terms of the rest of the litigation with the SEC and whatnot. Okay, we're not in the ship scene yet. We're here. We're focused on this one part, and as the SEC's arm starts operating this mechanical crushing device, which is a recycle machine, and it's drawing in. If you look at the direction of the, I'm going to bring this out a little bit, and we're going to probably zoom in. It operates in the direction of this way, so it's drawing things in. So it gives you an indication as to things that are closest to it are likely to get in trouble, and a crushing machine often destroys things, right? It has, WP or MP. If you were to use there's a little white box up here, and it has the letters M or W and P. And a lot of people thought there was white people back in the day. I actually think it's marketplaces MP, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. But this crushing hand by the US authorities and the king's henchmen is likely to drag a lot of these tokens into this crushing machine and destroy them. We know back in the day we were told that there's going to be an enormous day of reckoning in the crypto space, where we're going to see a washout of many thousands of tokens that were just pointless and useless, and you're going to be left with a few. And that is also the storm, the reckoning, where, hold on, we're going to see a bloodbath, and there could be major opportunities in it, as Bearable Guy always said, and Warren Buffett, be greedy when others are fearful, right? So we've got Monero, we've got Satoshi's Vision token, we've got IOTA. Then it's almost like the higher up and the closer they are to the crusher, the more I'd have concern for them. You've got Cardano, he's up there. The fascinating thing about these tokens, and I'm going to bring up a bit of a better picture for you all with the tokens as we move on to those now, is that I thought I had a better one than that even. Isn't that better? No. Okay, that's the MP or white paper or marketplace that we talked about earlier on. But the tokens, I had a better picture than that as well. Where is it? Okay, well, we'll use that one for the minute. We've got, I think it's IOTA, Satoshi's Visions, Monero. Then we've got Cardano. Right, this is the important part. There are messages within the tokens. And we'll just look at this one piece first of all. I've talked about this in my recent tweets. Dogecoin is in the center of here. And people are like, it's not Dogecoin, it's bullshit. I'm like, it is Dogecoin, trust me. Dogecoin has been left there deliberately to keep the basic attention. This token here with the orange triangle, the kind of pinky triangle, is a token called BAT, and its acronym refers to the basic attention. Basic attention is being kept on Doge, okay? And what is Elon doing? What is Elon doing to the masses? Yeah, I've got the symbol also for Doge here. It's there, Dogecoin. Back in the day, it may have changed since Bearable Guy released this in 2018. It's still Doge. And he's telling you the basic attention is going to be on Doge. Right. So they're going to hoodwink the masses in order so that they don't see this change coming. Okay. The old guy do not want retail involved. They call them Gollum. They just don't give a hoot about humanity. They are all in it for themselves and their own recreation in life. And this is a chance where the average Joe, as we say in the UK, that the normal person, the everyday guy, gets a chance to front run these fuckers. Excuse my French, but they are fuckers. Okay, we get to front run them, and that is an amazing thing, because You are before the party before they are allowed to officially stock it. A lot of them. Okay. Now we've got also on the tokens here. I'm not sure which Bitcoin token this is. I think it might be Bitcoin Cash, or it is Bitcoin itself, and it's connected to the token Waves with Tether. Now that's really interesting. Okay, Waves is Tether going to make some waves? There's something coming, isn't there? There's something that's coming down the line, and I think all of you can smell a rat with Tether and potentially how it has implication with things. We have EOS next to Tether, which we know was a creation by the same chap who built Tether, which was that young guy. What was his name? Brock Pierce. Same old clan, same old game. Yeah, same old oligarchy and players like the consensus lot, right next to Ethereum, right next to Tron. They're all in the same line. Why is that? They're all the same bloody sort. That's why. Yeah, the same game. And I think there's going to be a day of reckoning coming here. Do you know there's a red patch on the rug here, which is kind of a bloodbath. And again, this is not financial advice. You've got the old symbol for Stellar firing the wrong way. But at least it's out of this line. I don't know how that fits into things. You guys can kind of look into that, but you know, the Phoenix is rising one way and Stella's going the other. Also, Bearable Guy thinks so. You know, I think that had a lot to do with, you know, Stella's its burning of its treasury back in the day, which was a 50 billion tokens. They couldn't allocate it. You know, it's escrow rather, not its treasury. I think the writing was on the wall back then. I think it'll be a very, very good chain in the future, and it seems to react to XRP's price moves. I don't know why, but there we go. So that scene is quite interesting. We also have Bitcoin and Litecoin, which probably will be, I'm guessing, again, not financial advice, brought in as maybe commodities further away as possible from the XCC crusher. Also, you notice Ethereum is quite away from the crusher, but still, he's chosen a set of tokens for a reason here. Maybe you lot can kind of figure that out as well as we go. There were other little bits of riddles in the midst. What else did I want to cover with you all? Let me have a look at the bottom here. I think we've been over quite a lot of this. Level playing field. The tokens was a real critical one. And also, yeah, I wanted to bring that up actually. I saved that there, the 589 equals 22, and it, you know, Pool used to post a reset picture on it, which is super important. So we've covered quite a lot here now. We've covered the tokens and the storm potentially. We've looked at the video of the Ripple Riddler and potential timelines. But again, potential, I don't know. These are not dates. These are events. We don't know when they're going to occur. We just have to sit with it and watch it all play out. We've been over the stockings and where they're placed and how they relate to the level playing field. We've been over the jar of molasses and the gavel and how that could set about a fall and change in price structure for XRP. We've been over the other parts of the calendar. We've been over the knight. We've been over the arm, the push by the king. So this in total kind of gives us a full view picture of this Christmas scene now. We've covered all the three parts over 2 videos that I've put together for us all. It's this part of the scene is playing out now, and we're in 2023. So we can see that the SEC onslaught is coming out. I don't know how long this is going to take to play out. I have no idea. The only other thing I wanted to talk about was BRICS, briefly. And I haven't figured it all out yet. And I'm searching and grasping at maybe... The AIIB is considered to be a competitor of the IMF and the World Bank. We know the stickman in the scene of the Christmas scene had been, cut loose, and they had the World Bank and IMF on it. We know that... no, it's not that one. Where are you? No, it's not that one. Oh yeah, we know that AIIB had been mentioned heavily in Marvin Gaye's work with the SWIFT, the transfer from west to east, with the help of HSBC, Hong Kong Bank. The old system to new. Liquidities are still flowing at the moment, left to right. Interesting. That's a really interesting one. We're going to do a deep dive in this in the future. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention that the SWIFT, the dollar-based system, okay, that's now, dollar-based system is now gone. However, fiat is here to stay. And you might be, well, what the hell's this got to do with the Christmas scene? Well, AIIB and its connections to BRICS is the thing that we need to be looking at, okay? Because he hasn't left it here for you. He's, behind the curtain, what's happening right now. We know that SWIFT's competitor system was CIPS, and he's told you the AIIB will use SWIFTs. Okay, well, we know AIIB is the competitor to the World Bank and the IMF, who formerly used SWIFT. So that isn't in the picture, but he's left this, the devil is in the detail. Now, AIIB is the Chinese-led investment Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, okay? And it is, like I said, a competitor. We can look at that. It's 11:11 as I say that, proper synchronous times. The AIIB is considered a competitor of the IMF and World Bank. How does it compete? AIIB is accused of providing a rival management model and is likely to provide loans at a faster rate with less binding constraints. Okay, so we know that BRICS uses AIIB. Okay, we can just type that in now. BRICS, and I've looked at this before, connections to AIIB. And my spelling. All the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa economies, have become founding members of the AIIB. So the AIIB provides collateral and loans to all the BRICS nations. Okay, this is so important because the BRICS nations where it's all at right now. And I want to bring up a video that I think I'll get probably copyright strike if I show that one. But I could probably... No, I don't want to show that. It was probably this one here. I'm going to play this.
Best-selling author has leveled serious accusations against the Biden administration, claiming that they are responsible for the imminent downfall of the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. According to Rickards, the upcoming marginalization of the US dollar will be attributed to Biden's actions, as he believes a proposed common currency by the BRICS bloc, set to be introduced on August 22nd, will play a significant role in this shift. Welcome to Investopads. Jim Rickards, a highly acclaimed economist and best-selling author, has shared his perspective on the Biden administration's approach to U.S. monetary policy. With an impressive 35 years of experience in the investment field, Rickards has openly criticized President Joe Biden, asserting that his actions have resulted in the decline of the U.S. dollar as a prominent global reserve currency. Taking to social media, Rickards expressed his views, stating, "Biden is now a world historic figure. He has destroyed the dollar. Not an easy task."
I'm going to pause it there because it's not quite over the target from what I'm after. But there is another, also a clip, and I don't know if I'm going to get struck by London Real for putting this on. So, but I'm going to let you guys look at it. Okay, it's a speech that Jim Rickards gave to London Real regarding what is happening in the next few months and the importance of people putting their attention on this BRICS meetings and how this is going to affect the dollar. Okay, and this is all tied in with this Christmas scene. Okay, the BRICS nations, because we now know the BRICS nations draw their funding as founding members from the AIIB, and they will use the CIPS system to rival SWIFT. Okay, is this going to create some sort of geopolitical tensions rather, and kind of square off a push to create a new system? It's really interesting to see. I think time will all play out with all this. There was another. Oh, it's here. Beg your pardon. 1 second.
Cloned the World Bank. They've cloned the IMF. They've got all these committees. They've been meeting for 17 years at this point.
He's referring to BRICS that have cloned the World Bank, the IMF. They've got their own system set up, and that is the AIIB. Okay, so they've got their own SWIFT, they've got their own World Bank, and that World Bank is the AIIB.
And now they're ready to unveil, again, this will be the biggest shock in the international monetary system since 1971. Richard Nixon suspended redemptions of dollars for gold among our trading partners. That was the shock, of course, but that's the kind of magnitude we're looking at. What the BRICS are going to do, they're going to unveil a new currency. Now, I've always poured cold water on the Chinese yuan is going to be the reserve currency, and the Russian ruble is going to be. I've always poured cold water on that. Absolutely not. That's not going to happen. But a new currency, you're starting with a clean slate. August 22nd, 2023, about 2 months from where we are now. It's a BRICS summit. It's in Durban, South Africa. Of course, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So that's what the BRICS are. And they have a rotating presidency. So South Africa is the president. Ramaphosa is the president of the BRICS this year. And he's hosting this summit in Durban, South Africa. So people go, BRICS have been around forever. They've been meeting, hacking, whatever. Who cares? Well, here's what's different. Number one, this is a leaders summit, meaning Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, Lula da Silva, Prime Minister Modi, and President Ramaphosa are all going to be there. Right now, there's a full-scale assault on the US dollar as the leading global payment currency. So what do we see?
Did you hear the word of that? Payment currency. Not reserve world currency, payment currency. Very important.
The other day, the Prime Minister of Malaysia met with Chairman Xi Jinping in Beijing and suggested the creation of an Asian Monetary Fund, like a regional version of the IMF, but it wouldn't be dollar-based or even SDR-based, that's the IMF's money. It would be either a basket of local currencies or local currencies pegged to a basket, and that Asian Monetary Fund would be able to lend to members if they were running a trade.
The question is the Asian Monetary Fund AIIB? Has it connections to AIIB? That's what I want to know. Maybe Darren Moore and the community and other smart minds could have a look at this.
Or they need some infrastructure, I can make you a loan using this Asian currency basket, then you could buy oil or whatever you needed. So that's on the table. They have 109.
An interesting thing, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop just again there. They're talking about a currency basket. Okay, well, are they going to go and announce, and this is total speculation, about a grab on a digital currency basket? You know, the IMF is the same. Think of IMF and this new Chinese-led investment or Asian investment bank he's referring to. And I think he's referring to AIIB. I really do. I could be wrong. People can quote me in the comments and let me know. If they move first and go for a commodity or a new basket of assets that they can use as collateral, well, my God, they're going to send things into a tailspin in the Western front, because the IMF would have to scramble and do the same. The IMF isn't disappearing, okay, and this is a competitor. But what if they're all kind of under the hood of this, all connected to the same system? They're all going to have a basket of new assets to back their currencies. We know that the global vision's a level playing field, which is 180 currencies, which might not happen. You know, it's a grand vision, but it could be another 10 plus years out, more even. But we're seeing the beginnings of this now.
BRICS meetings a year. I mean, this is a very mature organization at this point. They have a sports committee, they have a women's rights committee, they have a human rights committee, they have an immigration committee, they have banking, finance, and many, many others. They've been working on this since 2006, and they created the New Development Bank, the NDB. Well, it's an exact clone of the World Bank, except it's controlled by the BRICS. Then they created something called the Contingency Reserve Asset, which is an exact clone of the IMF. It's a swing lender, so you're running a balanced payments deficit. You got to run on the bank. Your currency's under attack. They can give you billions of dollars in loans until you can make some policy changes and kind of prop it up. But that's why the IMF was invented, and that's what this is. The biggest project right now is not final, but BRICS Plus, so BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But the Plus is interesting because they've now invited 20 other countries to join their meetings. They have 4 or 5 meetings a year, a leadership summit, a finance minister summit, a defense summit, etc. So that group is now expanded to include Iran, Turkey, Argentina, Chile, and a lot of other important countries. The UAE and China just agreed on a deal where China can buy oil from Dubai in yuan, in Chinese yuan. Saudi Arabia and China are talking about a similar deal. It's not final yet, but that's in the works. I think people expect it soon. China and Brazil just did a very extensive bilateral deal where they would accept each other's.
You get the idea, right? BRICS is a big deal, and it's threatening. It's threatening the status quo of the Western-controlled oligarchy of the IMF, the World Bank, and Co, Bank of International Settlements, because they've all got their own gig. SIPs, just a quick touch upon this. What this SIPS is a Chinese payment system that offers clearing settlement service for participants across border renminbi. So we saw that the AIIB for the use of SIPs. Now, it could be nothing. We don't know. But the point is, there is competing technologies and models of other different coming out in other countries that are going to challenge the status quo, and I want to bring them to attention. So we've had a look at the entire Christmas scene here. I don't think there's too much more for bring to your attention. The meeting that we talked about is in this August the 22nd, 2023, and it is a leaders summit in South Africa. So that's what Jim Rickards was talking about. Pretty big deal. We know of the BRICS, as we've been over, has connections to what Marvin Gaye talked about in the change of things. Are they going to be the catalyst of the status quo? We don't know. It's very difficult to say. I know that there's change ahead. We'll focus and wrap this up now. But, the fireplace is made out of bricks, and there's a lot of information and talk in the background regarding BRICS with Bearable Guy's work. I know this has been a long one, over 1 hour long. I hope you've all stuck through this. It's a monster. I told you it was a monster. There's so much. There's 3 years worth of understanding, knowledge, acumen gone into my current understanding of this model, and it is set to expand further. I hope it's been useful for you. I hope it's not been too long-winded. It's one of those you just got to sit down and go through in your own speed, or just nibble away at it when you can. I couldn't break it down any shorter than this. It had to be given the full the time allocation needed to kind of break this stuff into kind of bite-sized pieces and hopefully present it to you in a way that is understandable. That's the idea of all these, is to bring it to you all so that you can get it, and then you can teach other people it. It's also, like I said in a previous video, to quash and set a standard. But over the Chinese whispers and the hearsay that I'm seeing around Bearable Guy's work, which does frustrate me. Not a bad thing. Everyone's allowed their own investment, their own interpretation of these things, but it's confusing because people are investing their money on the basis of what people are saying. I want to say to you, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. This is me talking about a cartoon bear and a potentiality of events to come that could be entirely wrong. And it's just my view. It's one random person on the internet learning about a cartoon bear. Anyhow, hope it's all been helpful. Please drop a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are below. I'll be interested to hear if you've got any different opinions on things. Like I said, if you've done reading up, I'd love to know more people if they've got a real good understanding of the AIIB and BRICS and how it all ties together. And yeah, if you want to drop a like, please subscribe to the channel. Come and say hello on Twitter, and yeah, hopefully more soon. We'll leave it at that now. Anyway, hope you're all well. See you soon in the next one, and be blessed.